Hey everyone, we're here today with humans of UWC Mostar CAS. I'm May from the Netherlands and I'm here with...
My name is Rowan, I'm from Ireland.
My name is Jessie and I'm from Denmark.
My name is Everett and I'm from North Carolina.
And today I'm going to be asking them some questions about their UWC experience this far. So the first question I want to ask you guys is personal to Mostar itself, because we have an open campus and we live in the city, which is special if you compare it to other UWCs. And I wanted to ask you, how do you think the open campus affects your experience of UWC?
It makes it feel much more free, I don't feel like limited, like, if I want to go have fun, I just have to go to the activity center to do activities. I can just, go with my friends, explore the city, find new things, make my experience much more, interesting and valuable.
Yeah, and what about you guys? Do you think it really affects your experience of these 2 years, and how do you think it could be different if we didn't have an open campus?
Well, I really like that there's a deeper level of independence here, because you're not on in a closed campus with everybody. You kind of have the time to be by yourself and seclude yourself if you need that. You don't have to be inside your room all the time in order to get this sense of liberation from the UWC atmosphere. And I also just think there's a lot of people here haven't been independent before, in the sense that they may have had parents or family members take great care of them, and now suddenly they have this opportunity to go around by themselves and do stuff by themselves and learn how to be independent and how to detach from a more family or parent-controlled environment, which I greatly like.
Yeah, that's very well said.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what you guys both said. It's, if you're looking for freedom, I think this is the right place to go. You're completely living independently.
Yeah.
It's not even you are totally responsible for getting yourself up, for doing all of your work on time. No one is there to check up on you.
Yeah.
And I think in a sort of very closed campus life, there's maybe the community can be somehow, you don't feel as independent because you are very much restricted in where you can go and what you can do. You're watched much more than you would be in Mostar. But here, you are totally free. You can go anywhere. And I definitely feel for me, my life, it's made me realize that my actions are my own and that my responsibilities for myself are completely about me.
Yeah.
And there's no one there who's going to kind of take the blame if I mess up. And I think, having that sense of freedom really gives you that impression. So I think that's, one of the greatest things about UWC Mostar.
Yeah, I totally agree, but more than only the freedom and the individuality, Mostar just offers very beautiful locations, and we have the freedom to roam around the city, just even on our walk to school. I want to ask a question: which residences are you guys? I'm in Novi Sušac.
I am in Šantić, which is the closest to the school, and it's the best residence in my opinion.
I have to disagree with you, but Jessie, what about you?
I would like to disagree as well. I'm in Milan, very close to the town actually. Beautiful residence. It's very quiet as well, very secluded, which I really like, because compared to Šantić, for example, there isn't that many people.
Yeah. And
I really like that there isn't that many people because people don't really go there.
I'm also from Šantić. I would have to agree with what Rowan said earlier.
Yeah, well, the distances can be quite different. I have to walk to school for 15 minutes every morning, and you guys walk to school for 30 seconds. But it's not only bad if you live further away from school, because I want to ask you guys, what moment from your daily commute, what is a certain view that you love to see every day, or what specific site? For example, for me, it's every time I walk down the Novi Hill, I can see the snow-capped mountains. Even in the summer, I can see the snow-capped mountains, which is beautiful to me because in the Netherlands there are no mountains, and I just have to get used to seeing them every day. So is there a moment that stands out for you guys?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, from your guys' very short commute
Well,
to school.
our commute, like, for anybody who doesn't know where Shoreditch is, if this is a school, this is like Shoreditch. Like,
And then nobody would be here, so
nobody was like,
yeah.
so it's very close. But when you walk up the street to the gymnasium where our school is, there's this, again, similar to what I said, a really nice, like, kind of mountainscape. And yeah, it's really beautiful. You can see, like, there's a Millennium Cross, it's called, in the corner. And yeah, it gives the vibe that, yeah, we're surrounded by mountains here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I hiked up to that cross this weekend, and I think that's so cool that we're able to do that in our free time. Just
Yeah.
spend the day and be like, you know what, guys, who wants to go on a hike today, and then you hike up to the big cross, and it's the most beautiful sight ever. What about you guys, Jessie? And,
Well, I have a joke with my friends about Lafayette,
yeah.
which is a pancake house that I drive by every day on my bike. And I kind of made a joke inside my head about that. But obviously, even though Lafayette is a beautiful sight,
Beautiful institution.
and a blessing every day, I would like to say that typically I drive over like a bridge over the river, and it's beautiful, and like I always feel like a sense of calmness when I see the river going by.
For me, every morning I walk past UWC. Very nice looking restaurants, very nice vibe.
Yeah,
Just the roundabout next to it.
yeah, I mean, it's also one of the other sights to see on the way from
That's true.
Sheffield.
Yeah, it's more of a, it's on the shorter end.
But it is a very nice vibe. Like, that's the thing with the
Yeah.
cities. It has all these cafes and people are always sitting there. It's always crowded. And about that, I wanted to ask, how do you guys find balance between this international bubble we're in within UWC and, the reality of living in a city where people actually have to, go to work every day, where the city continues and lives and breathes? How do you guys find balance in between those two very different opposites?
I mean, look, I'll be honest, in my experience, it can feel a little secluded, as in we are in our own international bubble. Like I myself don't have very good, I don't speak the local language very well at all. So it's kind of, obviously that's a major block for creating any real, interacting too heavily.
So sorry.
But yeah, I think that in a way limits the interaction with the culture. But I think we do get around it as well. There's a lot of, a lot of people have made local friends here.
Yeah.
Just from, there's a lot of local students who live in Mostar, and through friends of friends or whatever, or just football clubs. I think the school is engaged in the local community, and I think for every individual it's a choice on how much you want to kind of engage and branch out outside of this kind of bubble. A lot of even the international students have learned very good local language. And I think it is a choice to the individual how much you want to engage.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good thing to engage because you've got a unique experience here to learn about a new culture. And so definitely, I would encourage everybody to kind of try to engage as much as possible.
Yeah,
Very well done.
I would say like in my experience as well, it kind of like mostly stayed in the international bubble, because like all the students here speak English,
Yeah.
most other people might not. But I have, made like a few friends who go to the like local high school, the gymnasium. I've definitely interacted with a few of the locals. I'm friends with this one guy named Alan, who's a local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think it's important to interact with them as well. And you, Jessie, do you have your own sights on that?
Well, I think I tend to stay in the international little bubble as well. The great thing about Mostar is that a lot of the citizens, they speak English. It's a very, I would say, a very nice city that is very prone to
Tourism, I guess.
to execute the English language, which I really like. I really like to go to cafes that some of my friends don't go to, like just to kind of explore like something else. They do that on a Sunday, and I think it's very nice because like although there is this language barrier sometimes, you can kind of do something with your hands, and if you give them a big smile, you're always prone to get a big smile back. A while ago, I found myself in a flower shop. She doesn't speak English. I don't speak Danish, but she knows me because I tend to come there a lot and look at her flowers.
Yeah.
And there is still like a conversation between us, although we don't speak the same language or is not united by one language. And I think that's beautiful because I can tell that she's happy that I'm there, and she can tell that I'm happy to be there. It's a very beautiful experience. It has taught me that although we don't share the same language, we can still integrate with each other and the people around you.
Yeah, I really agree. And also, the school has been here for 20 years now, so I think the local community is also very used to us being here and used to this international presence. And I think that was really, I can tell that they really appreciate it when, you know how to say bonjour and just like saying strabo, stuff like that. Those are, I think, the only 3 words I really know. But I think it's about, the little things. And I wanted to ask you guys a bit more of a personal question, so feel free to answer this to whatever extent you want to. But going home, what were the biggest changes you faced about yourself or maybe your interaction with your community back home? Because, hopefully we have some future UWC students watching and listening. So what do you think they can expect? What changes did you face?
I think for me it was a sense of being in limbo. I felt very in between 2 worlds because I had my friends and my family and my whole life back home, and although I was here, it still moved on. Like my old life still stayed the same at home, except for the fact that I wasn't there. Like my friends would still go to the same parties, and my parents would still do the things they used to do, and I would be here and I would do something else. And I feel like, and this is so important to put emphasis on, time moves so fast here. What happens here, in at specific time span, it could be a couple of months, it would happen like in the span of maybe 2 years back home. Yeah. So whilst I was here feeling like, oh my god, everything changed for me, nothing really changed back home. And then I would come back and my friends would talk about these parties that they were at, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, but I wasn't there. And I would talk about these parties I was at, and they would be like, oh, nice, but they weren't there. So we kind of clashed a bit there. And also, like, it just didn't feel the same sometimes, because you feel like you get friends here that get you on a deeper level because they share the same experiences. And then you have the friends back home that don't go here, they don't know what it's like, and they can give you advice on something, but they're a bit biased because they haven't. Yeah, so it's a sense of kind of being in between 2 worlds, and you don't really feel like you belong back home anymore, but also sometimes you don't really feel like you belong here, and that was at least the case for me.
No, that was also definitely the case for me, being in between it. You belong to both of those worlds, but also sometimes to none of them at the same time.
Yeah, I think that was weird, especially when I first went back over winter break, when I was landing in the airport and everything. Even minor things like people who were coming from Croatia, from the flight I was on, would talk to me in local, because they would assume that nobody else would really be flying from Croatia at that time of the year. And minor things, that would, I don't know, walking in, suddenly, yeah, you feel different, you feel you have had this experience that nobody else has had around you. And I think as well, there was, like, everybody was really interested in what was I doing. But also, when I was home then, it created just this pressure, because, when you live in a place, friendships aren't necessarily too hard to maintain. If you go to school with these people, you're going to see them every day regardless. But I think then when you come back, you do have to kind of reflect and think, or in a way, just what people do I really want to spend time with? Because you have to put in a lot more effort to see them, because you have such a short time back home.
Yeah.
But I think for myself as well, I definitely noticed that I'd become more independent. I think I was more reluctant, like if my mom offered to like drive me somewhere, I felt more reluctant because I felt, I've been living independently now, I don't want to just go back. And I also think, you can kind of, for me, I think I felt like an adult. And I would sometimes want to be just treated like an adult. And if my mum, obviously still sees me as her kid in a certain way. So I think as well that can be difficult, because you're so free here, and you expect, or you want the same kind of independence back home. And it's sometimes a bit of a reality check when you don't get that. You need to be reminded that these people are, still your parents, and you're not as free as you are in Munster.
It definitely was weird going back, because when I got back home, I wouldn't just wake up, go outside, see my friends, or call my friends and just meet them somewhere, go do something immediately, back home I have to drive half an hour or more to see anybody, and it's just I don't know, life here is just so much different than life back home, because at home I really hanging out with someone is much more of a big deal, because you really plan it, you decide what you're gonna do beforehand.
Yeah.
But here it's just you just are around people, and then it's if going somewhere is the vibe, and that's what you do, or you just want to sit in silence, you also do that.
And then a question, because I know that I had very set expectations of UWC before coming here, and I was wondering to what extent would you say that your expectations have been met, challenged? Some maybe disappointed a bit, you can be honest, but also, focusing on good things. I know there are a lot of good things that I didn't expect to happen that did. So if you guys have any input on that?
Yeah, I remember when I first came here, I really wasn't sure of the kind of people I meet. I think that was the thing I was thinking about the most, because I really couldn't imagine all of these people from countries that, some countries I know nothing about. People they've come from such different backgrounds, I had no idea what it was going to be like. And I remember my first day, the feeling at the end of the day was if any of the people I had met were in my life back home, they'd probably be like my best friend. Because I just felt, I think that was one thing I was really pleasantly surprised about, because there is so many really, really impressive people in UWC. And if we're going to be honest, like any school, there's drama, not everybody gets on. But I think when you look around at the end of the day, even the people you don't like or that you find annoying, they're really, really, good, high-quality people that also went through a lot to be here. And I think that's quite special. But I think as well, one thing that I would say for anybody coming here, and I'm not sure, maybe it's more so or less so than on the campus, it's a hyper-social environment. you need to make a very active effort to kind of be on your own. It's like Everett was saying, at least back home, most people lived about 30-minute drive away, and at least for me. So meeting with people was a much bigger thing. You know, you were, I guess the default was that you were on your own, and then you would go and see people. But here the default is that you're with people. And it depends on the residence, but in general, people are always hanging out. Your friends will often just, you know, be in your room, or you'll be in your friends' rooms, or, you know, people are always hanging out. And I think one thing that did surprise me, and one thing that I think I was disappointed by, was the kind of lack of a long time you could get. But I think you can also definitely get it, it's just you have to put effort in, which is different to back home.
I remember getting in, and I remember my own perception of UWC, and my parents, I think we all just thought, okay, I was going to go here, study, and I was going to study hard, and that was going to be pretty much my life. I thought, obviously, yes, I was going to get friends, but to the extent in which I'm hanging out with them, I never thought it would be as much. But yeah, the FOMO hits you at some point. You have all of these beautiful people around you, and you're doing something, and you're like, oh shit, I should be studying, but then your mind kind of flicks and bends, and you end up hanging out with those people, you end up having a great time, and then you're back in your room, and you're like, oh, I didn't study, I'm here to study. That thought washed over me so fast, and it still does. I thought I was going to be way more academic than what I am, and I thought I wouldn't spend as much time with people as I do, so also to put emphasis on what Rowan said, you spend a lot of time with people, and you spend more time than you ever expect to do, which for some people is the best in the entire world. I love spending time with my friends. I love spending my weekends on my friends, studying with my friends, and for some people that can be too much. You kind of, especially I remember in the start, my social battery was drained so fast, because every day I was spending time with people, and I had to socialize, I didn't have to, but I chose to, obviously. But yeah, that was a bit big of a shocker for me, that you socialize as much as you do,
Yeah. I definitely didn't expect to have as much free time coming here, I feel like, I don't know, most of my time I can just pretty much do whatever, and most of that is just hanging out with friends. I don't know, it's here when I'm not hanging out with my friends, I'm what do I do? What am I doing right now? I need to call my friends and go hang out with them. It's just such a different environment, And I also kind of expected, I don't know, I expected everyone to be I expected the community to be very tight-knit, but it's not much, it's not so tight-knit.
I mean, you always have friend groups and people that click and don't, it's natural.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was really expecting, and I don't know what I was expecting from the education system either. But it's definitely not what I was expecting.
No.
I've never done IB. It's very different.
Yeah, it is. It's very much a system of its own. I thought it would be relatable to whatever I did back home, which we just call which was gymnasium. But it's weirdly intense, and then sometimes you feel like you have nothing to do, and then that doesn't last pretty long, because it builds up. And then the last question, let's flash back to induction week. I think we can all remember ourselves nervous, anxious, very excited.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time those months and give yourself any advice when you arrived here, you could have a moment with yourself from what is it, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. What would that advice be?
I
Hard question.
It is a hard question. I think there's a lot of things I'd say to myself.
Yeah.
I think, one thing I do think about all these questions, well, just about this thing in particular is, and this is kind of for anyone who's going to be coming to UWC, you, no matter how much advice your second years give you or whatever, you are still going to, make a lot of mistakes and do things that you regret. And you have to figure out the rules on your own. No matter how much people describe it to you or people describe how it works here, you have to learn through experience, I think. And that's one thing I think I've realized, because a lot of people told me a lot of different things, and it wasn't really true for me. But anyway, to answer the question, I think I would probably say to don't kind of get, I think there's a lot of kind of ideas around friend groups and everything, and having just one friend group and you're just a part of that, or like a kind of clique. And I think I think I kind of got a little, I sort of for a time was sort of in that, and I kind of just thought I had a clique or whatever, and I would say that really just hang out with people that you like, and it doesn't matter. I think people are really, really happy to hang out with whoever wants to. And I think there's just these ideas that we have that everybody just wants to hang out with their own friends. But it's really not true, I feel. A lot of the time we have really good friendships with whoever you want. And I think in induction week everybody's mixing. And everybody kind of knows everybody and is getting to know everybody a little bit. And then after that, friend groups kind of start forming. So I would say, I think I'd say to myself, like, be ready for that. Be ready for the fact that friend groups will start forming. And don't get like super bogged down or tied in with just one group of people. Just hang out with who you want to. Don't, worry. You have to tie yourself down with it. I think it's kind of unnecessary.
I think that's really good advice. And you, Jessie?
I think I was very fast to gather a picture of how I saw people in the start. And I think people were very fast to gather how they saw me as well. But I do think you need, during induction week or just the first couple of weeks here, people tend to put on a fake or more ecstatic persona of who they are in order to impress. And I did the same, I must admit. I think I diminish my real personality in order to be liked by the people around me. And for some people, I've been told further on that they said that they saw me as completely different in induction week, and then that there were more layers to me, and I think there's more layers to everyone. Yes, you can sit someone down in induction week and they say, I really like partying, and then you figure out, wait, they also really like reading, they also really like poetry or history, and then suddenly you have more to talk about, Don't be too fast to judge other people, because for the most part, people tend to kind of make an alter ego of themselves to impress the surroundings around them, and that's not who they are, and at some point they will blossom into who they really are, and that's when we learn to appreciate them. But yeah, my biggest advice would be to not judge people too fast. That is, that's good advice.
I think my advice to myself would just be chill, because like at the beginning of the year, like I had just been introduced to all this like new freedom. I was just like spending all day just like going out with friends, like for doing new things, you know, that I've never done before. Like because I live in like a city now, you know, as opposed to like out in the country. And I don't know, it was just like it didn't make life any easier to just always be like, I don't know, like even now, you know, we mentioned it earlier, like most of our time is spent with friends, but like, you know, I still take like a couple hours a day just to like be by myself, sit in my room or something. But like at the start of the year, it would just be like wake up, hang out with friends, check in, hang out with friends after check in until like 2 in the morning, and then go to sleep and do the same thing again.
Yeah.
It was just very like, I don't know, it was very difficult. You know, it was like overwhelming.
I think that's very good advice for anyone who might be listening now, whether you're potential first or you're just someone. I think it's always really good to, you know, slow down and take time for yourself in this very fast-paced environment. Well, guys, that were all the questions. So thank you so much for answering them, Rowan, Jessie, and Everett. I hope the listeners are able to conclude some whatever they want out of this. I had a great time talking to you guys, and thank you for being open and honest about UWC Mostar. See you guys next time.
Bye guys.